Well, while you guys are moving the furniture around, our theme today for our panel is going to be pushing it back against the national conversation that higher education is irrelevant, strategies implemented now and in the pipeline for future continued relevance. And while my panelists are getting seated, I just, in preparation for our conversation today, I had 5 thoughts that I wanted to share with them, just to kind of stimulate their responses, and then we'll get into introductions. So first, and I think you're going to hear some themes in what we just talked about. First, I want to thank Chancellor Benny Harris personally for being my red tape cutting machine, because that reverse transfer question hit it out of the park. So there are 3 key steps to being successful at reverse transfer, and that includes changing your catalog to auto-enroll students in reverse transfer at both institutions. We've done that in a partnership with Greenville Tech and USC Upstate, and we're one of the leading dyads of reverse transfer in our state and hopefully in the country. And so we have pockets of excellence across the state. We need to make that a uniform state approach. So thank you to Chancellor Harris for that work. Just some other takeaways. Gallup polls just released a survey. More than 80% of Americans a decade ago thought higher ed was essential to their future. That number is less than 40% today. We're in a period of massive creative destruction thanks to AI that will take many jobs and create many new ones. How will higher ed respond to that rate of change? We're good, but we're not usually fast. So that creates a challenge. Economic mobility remains a major challenge in the United States, and particularly here in the Upstate. We're thankful to Fordham University that just hosted Dr. Raj Chetty and his Economic Mobility Lab. If any of you had the chance to attend that, you heard a lot of data, a lot of concerning data about that. Dr. Perez, my 4th point, he stole it. We're up 2.2% a year, or in percentage points, on a concerning statistic. 43.1 million Americans have some college and no degree. That's an increase just last year, and you heard the stat, I think it's around 450,000 in the state of South Carolina. And number 5, and Brad Neese talked a little bit about that, Site Selector magazine. Talent is the number 2 priority for site selectors for the past decade. So if you've got the talent, you will attract the jobs. It's not the other way around anymore. So with all of that said, I want to welcome our presenters and start with my good friend Julio from Clemson University. Please just introduce yourself briefly, what you do at your institution, and then we'll get into Q&A.
Thank you, Dr. Miller. Good afternoon. My name is Julio Hernandez. I serve at Clemson University in the President's Office as Assistant to the President for Community Outreach and Engagement. And in my role, I basically serve as a bridge from the President's Office to the community. In addition, my responsibilities include developing and leading a university-wide strategic plan when it comes to community engagement. Clemson is a land-grant university, so we cover 46 counties. So in my role, I make sure that we're present in all 46 counties and intentionally engage in the community.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Craig Wilson. I'm about a month into my position as the Chancellor for Palmetto College. So I'm kind of learning as I fly the ship, I should say. It's been a delight. We serve about 19 different counties. We're with, again, University of South Carolina's Palmetto College. And in that regard, we have 4 different regional locations. And each of those regional locations have sub-locations. So we cover the 2-year option as well as 4-year online programs. And we do those programs in concert with some of our fine partners right here at Upstate as well. So a lot to do there, and just delighted to be here and share some insights.
Darryl Owings. I'm recently retired. I was a middle school principal, high school principal at Dorman High School. I was superintendent in District 6 for 22 years. And I was asked to come back and work with Spartanburg Academic Movement as a superintendent in residence. And also I work with One Spartanburg with the Star Fellowship Program, and I'm K-12 liaison between those.
Good afternoon. I'm Jack Bourla. I'm the president of Sherman College of Chiropractic. I am a retired chiropractor, which lasted about a month before I took this job on almost 3 years ago. So December 1st of 2022, I started, and they haven't fired me yet, which is awesome. As the president of Sherman College, my job is to make sure that we accept the most qualified candidates to become doctors of chiropractic. We have one degree, and that only one degree, and that is a doctor of chiropractic. We currently have about 400 students, and our strategic plan calls for growth to about 600 over the next 4 years.
Well, again, welcome to each of you, and thank you for joining us today. So to kick us off, we've heard the critics, we've heard the naysayers, we see higher ed in the news. Some of our most esteemed institutions are getting beat up in the press on a daily basis. And I'm curious, what do you say when someone gives you that pushback about higher ed? Why are we still relevant? If I'm stuck in an elevator with you for 2 minutes, what's your pitch? Why don't we start with Julio?
Sure. I'll just speak from a lens being first one in my family to go to college, and that really resonates with me because it's so easy to focus that investment in higher education is about knowledge, but it's more than that. It's been able to have one of my favorite words. My fourth grade teacher told me was capacity, the capacity to critically think, the capacity to adapt, the capacity to lead in a world that's constantly changing so fast. And also the research shows that college graduates live longer, they earn more, and their upward mobility is greater. And my favorite part, beyond the numbers, is that it truly builds citizenship and builds community. I wrote down here, I ran into 2 students last week. They're juniors in college, and they started their own nonprofit, and it's called Advancing Rural Communities Through STEM Education. They're juniors in college, and they started a nonprofit, and this nonprofit provides interactive toolkits and experiments that bring science to life for South Carolina students. They focus on sparkling curiosity and making science accessible for young learners in middle school students and high school students in rural areas. That's what education does.
Those were Clemson grads. Julio,
no, they're still in school.
They're
still
in school, but at Clemson.
Yeah, correct.
All right, well, stories like that might make me a fan of
Yeah.
Clemson one of these days. Thank you, Julio.
Yeah, interestingly enough, many of the naysayers are the first ones to make sure that their children actually go to college. I'll start with that. Second, I'm from a very small town in New York. It's called Brooklyn. And one of the things that I've learned in my journey is that education is the surest way for upward mobility. It's been proven time and time again. I've heard it said before in one of the prior panels, the importance of learning to learn. So often is the case that sometimes when you're skills dependent and a technology changes or things along those lines, you find yourself just not plugged in and you have to get replugged in. I look at it this way. The average lifespan of an American is about 78 years. And you graduate high school at 18. So that gives you about basically a 60-year curriculum. And during that 60 years, students are going to come in, they're going to come out, they're going to pick up a degree, pick up a certificate, go back to work, go back about their lives, then come in and out. And as they get older, higher education's relevance continues because when a spouse, you can't pick, you came in this world by yourself, you're going to leave by yourself, so you can't pick your timing. And so you want to make sure that if you're in a relationship and your significant other passes, you still have a way to engage with the community. And higher education is a great way to do that through lifelong learning. So that's one of the great things that one of the strengths I don't think gets heralded enough. So I'll save. I have other things to talk about, but I'll save it.
Thank you, Dr. Wilson.
My elevator speech probably be a bit more aggressive because I was first generation also, and my first thing would be is, You don't understand for the students, and right now in Spartanburg, we're at about 19.8% that have a baccalaureate degree. And I've been in a room interviewing a kid for a scholarship, and I've heard them say the largest barrier they've had to overcome in their life is convincing their family they could go to college. So I would tell them, whatever you do, don't you dare plant a seed of doubt in a young person that they cannot find a way to get their degree, because now there are ways to do that. And it's called Spartanburg Academic Movement. It's not Spartanburg Academic Immobility. And I would tell them to encourage and to look, and there is a way to finance a college degree. Don't say that you're going to go into debt and you can't do it. It proves competence, it proves commitment, and it proves completion. And we have ways to help the students get there, and we'll get into that, I'm sure, a little bit later. But that would be my 2-minute speech, and then I'd follow them out if they were saying something bad about going to get another degree.
You can see who has the double doctorate on the panel right there.
That was conferred on me honorarily, I'm afraid.
Hey, however you can get it. Dr. Bourla.
That was
Yeah,
still an
Dr.
awesome
Booker did that
response.
because he couldn't be here, I'm sure. He just put that in.
That was an awesome response, by the way. If I had 2 minutes in an elevator, I would spend those 2 minutes convincing that person to follow me to Sherman College to see exactly what we do.
Yeah.
Because once you get on that college, you don't want to leave. There's a buzz that happens there. I can't explain it. I can only feel it. And once we get people who come to our college, even if you're 110 years old, you want to become a chiropractor. Because it's just that feeling that people have. I don't need everybody to come to our college. There's 8.25 billion people on this planet. I just want the right ones to come to our college.
Great.
They would come to see where you got the boots. Those are awesome, by the way.
And right.
They would come to see.
Well,
That one, please don't get-
with
I got
that,
bowling shoes. You got boots.
with the boots out of the way, and also, did we find out where we bought those yet? No.
Taft.
Where?
Taft shoes.
Okay.
Ask Dr. Harris, he knows.
So with that out of the way, and I think we're singing to the choir with our audience, and Dr. Bourla, heads up, I'm going to switch this. It's coming to you now.
boy.
Because we're all concerned with placements rates, successful post-secondary outcomes, how do we better integrate our graduates into the workforce? What would you say to that? How do we meet those needs going forward after the conversations we've heard today?
We're in a very unique position in that when people graduate from our college, they have a couple of choices. One, they tend to be entrepreneurial by nature. So when they leave, they can go and open their own practices. But they can also work as associates in other doctors' offices. They can work in hospitals. And we hope that they go back and serve the military, because we know that the military need a lot of help in all aspects of their health care. So we're a little bit different than other colleges, that we're the end stream of the educational process. So once you leave our college, you have choices as to how you want to go ahead and perform to serve humanity, because that's what we're all about. We're all about service.
Thank you. And just working on
Well, I think we're starting early, Spartanburg Academic Movement, and with our partnerships with business and industry here in Spartanburg, with the internship program that we have started. And that's been great for our K-12 community, but also with One Spartanburg. Now, we took STAR Fellowship, which stands for Student Talent and Retention for Spartanburg, and we did that with our career development facilitators in high school. One Spartanburg took that up another level and worked with the career placement counselors in the colleges in Spartanburg County, so that they could start working and building those relationships, so that kids now, I say kids, high school, college, they want relevance and they want real world, and we definitely want them to have opportunities with internships and apprenticeships, so that they can check a box that that's for me, or check a box that that's not for me.
And just to follow up on that, how do you know that that's working? What evidence do you have that drives that
I can
home?
tell you from the internship part, the surveys from our high school students that have come, and we've got some great partners here with Spartanburg Regional, and they capture that data, and they hear it, and they've had the kids coming through their program already applying for their jobs coming back through. So I think the proof is in the data of the placement when the internships are over. And the other data point I think is key and critical is for a long time, and as a superintendent, I was not successful at it, but now in this role, the collaboration between business and education that hasn't been there. Now doors are opening because of internships, and we're getting the kids in these businesses, and they're saying, you know what? This generation does have some things that we need, and we enjoy it. And it started out with, we were hoping for 100, and now we will have at least 700 in Spartanburg County at the end of this year. So that tells me that it's working, because business and industry would say, no, we don't want any more. But it's increasing, it's not decreasing.
Dr. Wilson?
Yeah, interestingly enough, a lot of the stuff that we've done in the past has really been a feeder to the University of South Carolina in Columbia. But over time, as mentioned earlier, with the 450,000+ who started college and didn't finish, we're sort of widening our focus. And to that regard, when we say that number, 66% of that are actually non-community college level completers. So that means the meatiest part of that curve are actually in the areas that we serve. So from a complementarity standpoint, our student population will be, or expand to include, I should say, the non-traditional learner, that being 25 and up. The other thing that we're doing, and this has been about maybe a week and a half ago, we have now AI innovation labs spread throughout the state. We have 7 so far, and you've probably heard of them before. They were called iCarolina Labs. But what we've done is, because of the ubiquitousness of AI, we've rebranded and changed the curriculum, because you can never do enough. And our students, when they graduate, they really need to be ready to have not just co-workers, but cobots. And they need to be comfortable with that. So through my studies, I've created a metaversity framework, and I've sort of recast it into a meta-college framework. So you're going to hear more about that with Palmetto College, and our focus and our expanded goals of making sure that we're having students who are AI prepared and faculty and staff who are AI enabled. So,
Excellent.
yeah.
Julio, some examples from Clemson.
Yeah, correct. Dr. Melloward, at Clemson, we're continuing to evolve, which is a good thing. Sometimes when people think of Clemson, they think of the traditional 18-year-old going that way, going to Clemson. But as we continue to look at the future, we continue to evolve and provide hybrid online programs. A program that doesn't get talked much about is the Human Capital Education and Development Program, which a student in a technical college can be able to transfer over to Clemson, and you can be, you can be a student in Orangeburg, South Carolina, and yet be able to get that degree from Clemson University. And what that program basically does, it prepares people to go into the workforce, HR analytics, organizational improvement, and so many other career paths that ordinarily you would look at other traditional paths. So there's a lot of programs that would continue to evolve, and so it's not just your traditional programs that you go straight in, and other programs that we're getting into. It's just making sure that we get our students into the workforce as quickly as possible.
I love it. And also Expressway to Tigertown with us. So we've got lots of cool pathways together. Well, Dr. Owings, this one's coming back right at you. So higher ed is experiencing an enrollment cliff, if folks haven't heard about it, just due to demographics. But here in the Upstate, we're blessed with growing enrollment, actually. So a large part of that has to do with our overall growth strategy, and we're pipelining new students to our programs. So Dr. Owings, I'd like to start with you and to talk about Movement 2030 and its post-secondary goals, supported by about 125 million plus, but ultimately would like to know what's working for all of us with these enrollment strategies.
Okay. Well, again, Spartanburg Academic Movement, Movement 2030 is all about cradle to career. So it is the holistically traveling with an individual all the way through our program, starting with pre-K readiness, and then readiness in elementary and middle school, and then high school entrance into the next level into college. And with the Big Mo Scholarship, that's Big Momentum. If you haven't heard of that, go just Google Big Mo in Spartanburg, and it's going to take you to a website that explains where there's about $20 million set aside for students in Spartanburg County, and all means all. If you fill out FAFSA, go in, and that portal is not only about scholarships, it is about helping you guide your career path, your educational path, so that those two align. That's part of what Movement 2030 is. So that you go to that portal, and it's a one place where counselors, parents, students can look and track, and the data's there. And I know our previous panel talked about data sharing agreements. We have data sharing agreements with all 7 school districts, and they're all 7 shiny pennies, I can tell you that. They're not 1 or 2, they're all 7 shiny pennies. And all of the colleges in Spartanburg have signed data sharing agreements so that we can help these students move through. And the money there for USC Upstate is $4,000 per year, so $16,000 per student. For SMC and SCC right now, it's $1,000 for fees for those kids moving through. And we also have Meeting Street Scholarship that's available, $40 million in Spartanburg County for students that are Pell eligible. So we have a ton of opportunities right now. And again, Movement 2030 is cradle to career for those kids. And as we heard earlier, 75% of our kindergarten kids in Spartanburg County work within 40 miles when they grow up. So we are definitely trying to give back and build that talent pool to fill our employers' needs right here in Spartanburg County with Movement 2030.
Well, thank you, and congrats on all that success. To my broader panel members, I really want to focus on the ways you're partnering with the private sector to hit your enrollment targets and meet workforce demand.
Yeah, I'll jump in on that one. Again, this is Mr. 1 month in. So I'll start with this. We're putting together a strategic plan just for our employers in the area. Recruiting students individually and recruiting students at a corporation are 2 different strands of recruiting. When you're dealing with a corporation, what you find really quickly is that you need to make the pathway to finding information much easier than just going to a general website. You need to develop a concierge level of service, and you need to be able to continue to provide and prove your value add. To do a value add, you start with understanding what are their needs specifically, and you recognize that it doesn't all have to be credit. It can also be non-credit. You know, so often we get lost in the language of blue-collar jobs, white-collar jobs, but there's something in the middle called new-collar jobs. And new-collar jobs are those jobs that provide a great income to a family, and it doesn't require a 2-year commitment. It doesn't require a 4-year commitment. It just requires maybe 6 weeks, maybe up to a year. That's the new-collar. Once a family gets stabilized with a new-collar job, then they're able to start thinking longer term, and maybe I do want to get that associate's degree. Maybe I do want to get that baccalaureate degree. To do this, your best, I think, and it's been my experience, I should say as well, having a non-credit arm that allows your faculty and your faculty and your leaders to be really reflective of the needs of the community and the corporations in your area, that's the key. There's so much to be done. You know, when we're talking about, we mentioned 450,000 that are some college, no degree. It's actually 515,000 if you include folks that are above age 65. And folks that are above age 65 still want to go back to college. You heard the Chancellor Harris talk about his dad who went back and got his certificate. You know, we don't want to forget anyone. And that's almost 10% of our population. In the state of South Carolina, we're at about 5.4 million people. So we have, I think, a great charge. And as a public servant, you know, and we're all here public servants. As a public servant, it's in our responsibility domain to make sure that we're thinking about every single way to get these folks plugged back in. Credit, non-credit, short-term, long-term, in classroom, online, hybrid, whatever it takes, we have to meet those students where they are. So that's the way we look at it.
Yeah, Julio, please.
Yeah, before I answer this comment, I read this great article I want to share with you. It's called Knocking at the College Door. It's an 88-page article, but it's amazing because it highlights why the South is very positioned to be when it comes to workforce development, and how other universities across the country won't fare as well as here at schools in the South. So again, Knocking at the College Door, it's a great article. Last year, we received 65,000 applications at Clemson University for only 5,000 slots. And out of those 5,000, 30 countries are represented in those 5,000. And out of those 5,000, 150 of them are valedictorians from 49 other states, and 250 of those 5,000 are salutatorians from other different states. So when you think about that kind of group, Dr. Miller, at Clemson, we have to find ways how to innovate and strengthen this higher ed experience to be able to attract this workforce, this new incoming workforce, to value higher education and train them. And three things that we're doing, and our partnership with all our technical colleges is huge. Number one is focusing on differentiation through excellence. So these new students they need to feel connected and supported, prepared academically, socially, and professionally. So that ties with our strategic plan, Clemson Elevate, provide the #1 student experience in the country. And that's more than just attending a football game. That's actually getting them to work as quickly as possible and train, providing them the hands-on experience. Two is partnering with our technical colleges. Our technical colleges have a diverse pool, right? And so how do we make sure that we're talking to each other so we can help build that pipeline? And third, as we mentioned, and we talked about, adult learners are reshaping higher ed landscape. And so how do we continue to evolve to make sure that we make college accessible to them?
Excellent. Let me just check it. Dr. Bourla, anything else to add?
Don't mind. I'd like to address the enrollment cliff.
Yes.
As a chiropractor, I took an oath to be weird and to look at things differently. And so I don't look at it as an enrollment cliff. I look at it as an enrollment pool where we can jump in. We welcome the largest quarter that we've ever had in the last 8 years for the fall, which means that we're doing something right. 25% of our students are from South Carolina. The rest are from all over the United States, from Canada, from Norway, and from Honduras. And one of the things that we're doing is we have articulation agreements with other colleges. So they're called 3+1s. They do 3 years at the college. They do their final year at our college, but they get their bachelor's from the original college. So we're shortening their academic period. We're reducing their costs. But we have a huge opportunity in South Carolina. People are coming here because the quality of life is so good. So we have 25% who are already in South Carolina. The remaining 75% we're encouraging to stay here to serve the people of South Carolina. Housing's great, tons to do, lots of restaurants. I'm so happy that Tiffany brought to my attention her workup. It's just, there's so much to do here. I'm from California, and when I look at the cost of housing here compared to what I experience, my mind is blown. So don't look at this as a cliff. I think we need to look at it as a pool. We have lots of opportunity to build our students and our workforce.
Thank you for those comments. And my panelists, I just want to make sure we're here till 2:30. Is that right, Chris? We're good? Or are we over on?
3 minutes.
3 minutes.
We're over on time. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, just making sure I'm right. Because I see it looks like based on the clock, I'm going to blow up here. And I don't want that to happen.
Join the conversation.
Yeah, let's finish out the conversation, gentlemen. I don't know if y'all noticed it, but I'm sitting here looking at it. Let me reel it in. Okay, so 2 more questions for y'all. First, we're all big employers, right? I mean, I don't know about your own institution. I think we're around 1,300 employees at Greenville Tech. So let's talk briefly about how we retain our own talent. What strategies are you guys employing now to recruit, develop, and retain talent? And I'll open it. Whoever wants to go first, please.
I can just say in Spartanburg County, once someone enters the education workforce, there are about 9,000 total employees of all of the about 55,000 students, 9,000 employees across all 7 districts. A lot of collaboration and partnerships when teachers come in, great induction programs to support and retain them, and also offering free master's degrees so that they can attain those degrees without any money out of pocket, because everyone understands how difficult it is starting that new profession on the first year teacher pay. So that's been one way. Also, we have a potential administrators academy where talent is sought out, and we work with Converse University and the school districts to try to grow our own, so that we stay and keep Greenville from trying to steal them out of Spartanburg County, because their pay right now is a little bit more. Each district is unique in their own way of retaining their own talent, and every one has a different employee benefit. It may be a physician's assistant that's there for employees. It may be daycare for employees. Different things that work for that individual community to retain their employees. And we have a really good opportunity, and we really do a good job of keeping that talent in-house and retaining it.
Yeah.
I'll jump any opportunity I could talk about my boss. I love my boss. He's been a good mentor to me, and I would not be here if it wasn't for him. My boss, President Jim Clemens, created this President's Leadership Institute, and he basically, when he arrived, he said, "Where's the talent pipeline?" And so he was very intentional about selecting X amount of faculty and staff to say, "I'm going to show you everything about higher education, the ins and outs." And he dedicates, as busy as he is, he dedicates that day, one day out of the month, to show you everything he knows about everything. He's been in higher education 37 years, a president for 17 years, and he dedicates that day once a month, and he's done it for 10 years in a row. I was part of class 4, now we're in cohort 10. I'm on his advisory board now, and his executive leadership team, 40% of it went through that pipeline. Think about that. That leadership, that his executive team is made about that, and he spends the entire year mentoring them. Then we created another out of that program, out of my class was a capstone project, and we said, well, we need a mentor. We want to make sure there's development opportunities for everyone at Clemson University. So the program See You Grow came up, and now that was opened up to all staff at the university. And so now I'm a mentor, and I've been a mentor for 3 years, but that program, See You Grow, is how do you just get better at your job, and how do you, where's your path to be able to get promoted? And so it's such a beautiful culture, and that's what we call ourselves, the Clemson family, because at Clemson, we feel like we're a family, and if I win, you win, and vice versa. And so it's created just amazing retention and growth out of at the PLI, out of the, all the people have gone through the program. At least 150 people have been promoted to new positions, or they've been positions that have been created just for them because now they know the ins and outs of Clemson University and, of course, the CU Growth Program. So when Leah was talking about, it's not always about the money. It's all about growth and opportunity. Yeah. And I have a boss that basically says, if there's any boardroom I walk in, you can come with me and just sit next to me and start learning with me, right? And so that's the kind of culture that really makes an impact, at least at Clemson.
Wow, fantastic. Yes.
Well, who wouldn't want to work at the University of South Carolina system? I can't think of a single person, my present company excluded. But I would say this, it does start with culture, and it does start with leadership. At the University of South Carolina, President Hernandez really goes out of his way to make sure that everyone feels welcome, myself included. Again, here's a person who's been here a month, and already I'm making great relationships, getting to know people, not just on campus, but also around Columbia, Walterboro, Allendale, Union, Lancaster, you name it. I've really been blessed to be in that position. The other thing I think is key, and I heard it said earlier about the cost of living, and that's relative, right? So if you're coming from a large MSA or a large urban area, this really feels like it's nirvana in terms of cost of living. But if you're coming from rural parts of our country, rural parts of our state, it's not as affordable. Right. And so making sure that the folks who on either side of that equation are getting the same opportunities, that's the things that makes, I think, University of South Carolina really a unique place to be. Again, we don't do this on our own. We have great partners at the K-12 level, at the technical college level, our friends also, we're kind rivals. We do this because we have the ability to do so. But at the heart of our missions, they're very, very similar. We want to see the best of the best of the best succeed. We want to be able to add to the workforce. We want to be able to tackle the big, grand challenges within our state, within our region, within our country. As a combat Marine, I can tell you right now, there's no stone that should not be unturned. Adapt, improvise, overcome, because we live in a VUCA world, and this is real. So we take that very seriously at the University of South Carolina, throughout our system, particularly here at Upstate, and throughout the rest of the state and the regions that we serve. Thank you.
Dr. Wilson.
So we're a small college, but we make sure that we pay our employees the highest for their rank. So our professors are paid equal to any other college in the area. Unlike Julio, respectfully, we don't call ourselves a family. They used to call it the Sherman family. And when I got there, I said, we want to change that terminology because most families are dysfunctional. So I didn't want to do that, with all due respect.
Every family's different.
So we call ourselves a Sherman community. And if you ever were to come on campus, you will feel that there is a community. When I got to Sherman College, even though it was in great hands, I took some time to observe what the culture was like on campus. And so I asked everybody, the students, the faculty, the staff, to consider 6 new attitudes. And the first new attitude I wanted people to consider was, let's live with possibilities instead of within the probabilities. Because within probabilities is predictable, that's not very exciting. The second thing is I wanted us to simplify the complicated. We human beings have this incredible way to complicate things. And so I asked, let's simplify the complicated. The third thing I've asked is make sure you question everything. Just because something has been said or written doesn't make it true. So I give everybody permission to question everything because maybe it isn't true. The fifth is to don't be afraid to step out into the great unknown. This is where the great discoveries are made. And the last one, which is the most important for me, is make every encounter matter. You never know what your conversation or your attitude can do for somebody else. I'll give you a quick example if you don't mind. When we lived in California, I have a 16-year-old son, and when we used to go every Sunday to the same diner for the same breakfast at the same table served by the same waiter. But before we went to this diner, we would stop at Starbucks to get coffee, so you can imagine how bad the coffee was at the diner if we had to go to Starbucks. But one day when my son was about 10 years old, he said, "Dad, I noticed something about you when we go to Starbucks." And I said, "What's that?" And he said, "You always hold the door open for other people." And I said, "I do." And he says, "Why do you do that?" And I said, "Because sometimes that's the only kind gesture they're going to see all day long." And from the time that boy was 10 years old to today, he holds the door open for somebody else. Because you never know what that one little gesture could do to somebody else, and it could change their whole day around. That's the culture that we're trying to cultivate. That's the culture that we are cultivating, and that's a culture that I hope will perpetuate at Sherman College.
Excellent. Well, gentlemen, we're at our last question, and I'm going to kick it off with a little story because it's about work-based learning opportunities. And I want us to kind of sharpen our thinking on this because this isn't always easy. Let's be honest, it's expensive to offer these opportunities. We don't necessarily always have the resources to do it, but when we do it well, we know we can blow the roof off of a student's learning experience. So Julio and I get to partner at the Center for Manufacturing Innovation. We run our mechatronics program there, and we have a capstone class called 299. And Julio's got doctoral students there. So an employer came to us with a real-world manufacturing partner. We paired each doctoral student with 2 of our technical students in a capstone program. They developed 14 different solutions to a real-world problem, which the company then heard and selected one for implementation. It was a phenomenal experience. I still remember, just hearing all the solutions they came up with and the learning that happened between the theoretical and the applied. It was totally on point. It was exactly what we should be doing more of. But I can also tell you that as a, education, finance, and policy expert, we lost a lot of money on that program, and there's only so many programs that we can lose money on and still meet our other obligations. So with that said, what are you guys doing, one, to grow work-based learning opportunities like that, and two, what are the barriers you're facing, and what are some of the resources we should all be pursuing to close these gaps?
Well, in the situation with Spartanburg Academic Movement, the whole premise of that Movement 2030 is collective impact. And how can everyone trying to do good for kids and employers come together and pool those resources for a common goal? So that's one way. But when you look at financially, when you have one Spartanburg, Inc., and you have Spartanburg Academic Movement, you have the school districts, you have everyone saying, we're going to commit resources to this because it's the right thing to do for our students, where all 7 school districts committed to placing interns within their system, at their district offices, at other places, so they're putting their money where their mouth is. And it has leveraged Spartanburg Regional, Greenville Spartanburg, Airport, all of these big corporations, so many of the others out there are overcoming some of those barriers, because one thing you hear is, well, we can't because of liability, because of 18, because of age. Well, if they're signed up through a school district with work-based learning, then they are approved for that WBL, work-based learning, and you also get credit on the school report card. So we're finding creative ways to work with those employers to overcome those barriers, and once one industry does that, then others say, oh, there is a way. And I think it's not peer pressure. It's, hey, this is working. We want to tap into that. So that's one way that we've overcome some of those barriers.
Excellent. Julio.
Sure, Dr. Miller. So a couple of things that I think I find very interesting when I walk on campus is a program called Creative Inquiry at Clemson, where a student will look at a real world or community challenge, and they will Zoom on that, and they will sign up for a class. They don't have to take that class. They will sign a class on how to tackle that problem, and they'll be assigned a faculty mentor and then they'll be part of that class, and they'll get credit for that. If you're a Clemson student, when you graduate, 78% of all bachelor Clemson students have signed up for that. Can you imagine? Like they're coming into this university and thinking, I'm going to try to solve local, real problems. And 58% of Clemson students have taken 2 co-ops and much more. So students are coming out here looking at trying to solve problems in the state, in the community, and in the world. So that's fantastic. And of course, we have our resources with our Center for Career and Professional Development. A challenge that I see, I think all of us can do a little better, is being more intentional when it comes to those that sometimes don't speak up. And I'm thinking about maybe a lot of our first-gen students, right? It's just something that, sometimes I think Darryl was referencing, we need to really pour that mentorship in. And I'll give you an example. I remember I'm 50 years old, but I started my career in higher education at 19. Because there's a director of financial aid. She said, I've been watching you work the front desk, and I see how you love people. You're able to pick up a few things about disbursements and staffer loans and everything like that. And she said, how would you like to work in this office? And we can provide just the coaching that you need. And I said, well, ma'am, I still have to, I want to graduate from college. She said, you still have to do your 40 hours. But we'll give you a lot of training here with all the financial counselors. And so in the middle of the afternoon, if I had to take business class at 1:45, I'd go to my business law class, but I had to finish my 40 hours, but it was that kind of mentorship that I never imagined that would change the trajectory of my life. I was an international business student. My second language is English, and yet here's this mentor that said, I think you can make a difference in higher education. She told me that when I was 19. I'm 50 years old now, and I'm working in the president's office. So my point is the challenge of the barriers is we just want to make sure that we're more intentional in providing that mentorship. And there's a lot of resources that I see, not just on stage, but everyone here in the audience.
Excellent. Thank you. Dr. Wilson?
Yeah, sure. For us, I think it's education and nursing are our first forays into that relationship. The other thing that springs to mind is our service learning. We make it part of the curriculum, particularly for our Bachelor of Organizational Leadership and our Bachelors of Liberal Studies. So that this way it's not just an expectation, it's baked into the curriculum and is part of the journey to receive the baccalaureate degree. Those are just some examples. The other thing that springs to mind is with this AI Innovation Lab network that we have around the state, the ability to have these students not just learn to be prompt engineers and that sort of thing, but also take that back to their communities. Because you help the student helps their family helps their community helps the employer. So it's this great funnel that seems to work. So those are the areas that we're covering.
The virtuous circle, I heard
A
you say.
yes.
And we don't do optional, so you just make it mandatory. And
Yeah,
I think, look, education has always done a great job of work-based learning. So is healthcare. It's other sectors that need to step up to.
So let me just put a finer
please.
point on that. There's two ways to look at it. Things can be compulsive, or things can be compelling, right? Compulsive means you have to do it. Compelling means you want to do it, right? So we sort of straddle an area in the middle. Okay, but they do kind of.
We got to Venn diagram that, and I'm tracking. Thank you, Dr. Bourla.
Thank you. Sherman College is blessed to be where it is. We're in Spartanburg County, and there are 6 other colleges and universities in our county, and these 7 colleges have gotten together to do this thing called College Town. That's facilitated by one Spartanburg, who've done a fabulous job uniting us together. So we collaborate in our county. We have recently signed an agreement with Upstate where our interns will take care of their athletes. So their athletes will get the necessary care that they need. We've done the same thing with Spartanburg Methodist College. So we work with the other colleges to collaborate for a number of reasons. One, we have a service that we can provide to them, but we can also expose them to what chiropractic is. So maybe some of their pre-health majors will see chiropractic as a career option for them. So we're just in such a great position to be in this county doing what we do.
Very impressive. Well, gentlemen, we have about 5 minutes left, and I just want to know if anyone has any concluding or final thoughts they'd like to share with our audience. Otherwise, I'll open it up to questions.
I'll make one statement.
Yes, please.
I actually love AI. And the reason I love AI is because some people's jobs are threatened by AI. And so when they're looking for a career choice, there's one choice where you will never become obsolete, and that's chiropractic, because all you need is you need your brain, your heart, and 2 hands, and these aren't going anywhere. So you don't have to worry about your career if you want to become a lifelong career person. Sherman College is the place for you.
Larry, I'll make a comment real quick.
Please.
I know you were with me on Sunday at the VIP reception. We had an amazing keynote speaker, and he said something that resonated with me, and I've always believed in it, that he said when government, or I'll say communities, industry, and higher education, when we all come together at the same table, we can make a difference. And in my line of work, I cover 46 counties, and when I see community partners, institutions of higher ed working together and connected with industry, I've seen it with my own eyes that talk turns into transformation. So my goal is that this summit that I'm so glad Chancellor Harris and his team continue to put together, that may continue to serve as a catalyst for that type of a system to be in place, and all of us really take on. We have the capacity to make sure that we take ownership of our community success.
That's a great point, and that point actually resonated with me as well. And I kicked us off by saying that Gallup survey data. I just want to say that survey is rubbish, because we survey our students, and 87% of them say their education with us is integral to their own success and their ability to care for their family. So I don't care about the national survey. I care about my own students. And so I think that's more of a commentary on the politics of the time more than it is on the lived experience of our students. Time for I would say, two questions, maybe one. Yeah, please.
Our voice.
Before the mic comes, Julio, my son just applied to Clemson in Carolina, so your stats about only 7% get accepted is giving me some heartburn.
Call me later.
I had a question about higher ed. Y'all are also employers. My brother is a Ph.D. student at University of Texas. He's just gone on market, and it's been interesting to witness him as he's trying to get a job. He just applied to Carolina's sociology department, put in a good word for him. And his own program has had to take fewer students as he's been trying to apply. With all of the uncertainty and colleges losing money, they're hiring fewer people, and that's a spigot that's going to be difficult to just turn back on. So I'm curious how higher ed is having to be creative, especially when it comes to professors right now, and that future, your own pipeline, and how y'all are thinking about that.
I'll comment and just say, okay, you can go ahead.
No,
I was just going to comment and say just what I've seen. I can't speak for all the other universities, but our faculty and academics is vital for us. And so with all the changes that's happening across the country and sometimes how that spills into the university, we're having to be very strategic on what we invest in, right? And where areas we're efficient. And those savings, we're able to focus more on academics and have more teachers and have focus on excellence and the people that make it happen. So yeah, we have to sometimes cut in certain areas, but when it comes to academics, not at Clemson, the conversation is how all that money, how do we continue to put it back into academic teachers and people? And so yeah, I'm happy to talk to you afterwards if I can connect you to the right people. Yeah, thank you for your question.
Yeah, I'll just add this. Sometimes the law of supply and demand pops up. Is the field something that the institution needs at that point in time? So it's a matter of supply and demand and timing. I would recommend that your brother opens up his mind to opportunities that make him place-bound, but maybe teach something that's online. Because there's a lot of opportunities for online institutions. Now, at the University of South Carolina, I'll just give you something that's going on right now. I'm looking for 2 positions, unfortunately not in sociology. But I will say that, as mentioned earlier, let's assume that he's got his Ph.D. in sociology. Okay, and there's 4 or 5 others who also have their PhDs in sociology. The next question is, what's the production? What has his publishing been? What has he what his conference? Is he a thought leader in his space? Well, you're saying he's just graduating, right? So that first job is always the toughest job to break into academia. The next question is he looking for a tenure track position, or is he looking for a professional track? Is he looking for just, hey, look, I just want to get my foot in the door? So I don't know what his circumstance might be, but I would suggest that he consider, one, when he looks at his vita, he figures out, what can I do personally that's going to set me apart from other sociologists who are looking for a position? And right now, there could be a space for him to carve out on AI ethics. So this way, he's not just another sociologist with a PhD. He's a sociologist with a PhD who was also angling himself toward what ethics looks like in the AI landscape. Now, all of a sudden, he's a little bit different than the other sociologists that are out there in the market space. And if he can put together a white paper, a monograph, or something along those lines that shows that he's got some dedication to that craft, that again, raises his value. So that's what I would suggest as something, if he hasn't already tried that.
Sometimes in a storm, a postdoc makes a lot of sense as well, just given I have an R1 background also. But we're growing and hiring at Greenville Tech, so see me after and get my card. Do we have, I think we are at time, so I am going to respect our next speakers. Thank you to all of our panelists. Please give them a warm round of applause. Thank you all.
It's amazing.